Welcome, traveler. Tonight we drift together into 150 villager facts, a quiet journey through fields of wheat and gentle song, where soft voices hum beneath a square moon and lanterns flicker like slow-moving stars. Here, in the still villages of Minecraft, the world breathes differently, slower, calmer, steadier, and every block, every breath, every rustle of crops tells a story of patience and purpose. So, find your resting place, whether it's a warm bed, a flickering screen, or a quiet corner of night, and let your heartbeat fall into rhythm with the soft footsteps of the villagers as they wander through morning light and evening rain. In this story, there are no battles to fight, no monsters to chase, only lives unfolding gently, one emerald at a time, beneath skies that never tire of dawn. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and stay close so you can return here whenever you need stillness again. And before we begin, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? What sky watches over you as we drift together into this quiet world of trades, of farms, of bells, and of peace? Wherever you are, good evening and welcome home. Fact 1. In the very first quiet dawns of Minecraft's creation, before adventure mode and before story or quest, there came the villagers, strange, square-faced beings who breathed life into the still air of the overworld. They were not warriors or kings, not wanderers like the player, but settlers, ancient echoes of humanity coded into simplicity. Their arrival turned the empty plains into places of meaning, showing that even in a world made of cubes and silence, there could exist community, ritual, and warmth. Fact 2. When the earliest players stumbled upon a village for the first time, it felt like finding civilization at the end of a long and lonely journey. The huts stood crooked yet proud, paths wound through the grass like old memories, and inside, the villagers wandered without direction, murmuring in low tones that felt halfway between speech and thought. Their simple hums, hmm, seemed to speak of patience, as if they had been waiting for someone to listen. These sounds became part of Minecraft's lullaby, small syllables of comfort that echoed even after you left their gates. Fact 3. In those earliest versions, the villagers had no trade, no purpose, and no protection. They moved aimlessly through their towns, unbothered by time or danger, existing only as proof that life could endure in quiet repetition. They did not build new homes, nor farm with intention, yet their presence made the world feel inhabited. For the first time, the player was not alone beneath the square Sunday. Even though their actions were simple, the feeling they gave was profound. The comfort of company, the illusion of society in an otherwise infinite solitude. Fact 4. Marcus Persson, known as Notch, created the villagers with a vision of balance. He wanted the overworld to feel like a living place, not just a playground for the player's ambition. The villagers were designed to represent humanity without individuality, a collective conscience, rather than a single will. They were mirrors of our habits, repetition, trade, rest, survival. In their humming silence, we could see ourselves endlessly working, endlessly waiting, content with the rhythm of existence. Fact 5. Their appearance, the long nose, the unblinking eyes, the folded arms, was not born from beauty, but from utility. Their faces were built to be expressive through the simplest shapes. The nose gave them character, the eyes gave them awareness, and the folded arms suggested patience and thoughtfulness. Yet what began as function evolved into identity. Over time, those odd features became symbols of peace, of humility, of a people unbothered by chaos. The villager, with his quiet stare, became Minecraft's philosopher, wordless, eternal, always observing. Fact 6. In early days, villagers lacked voices, and their movements were ghostly. They would stand still, blinking slowly, as though caught between dream and waking. It was later that Mojang gave them their now iconic murmurs, sounds that transformed them from code into character. The voice actor behind those hums gave no words, only tones, designed to evoke communication without language. These noises carry across generations of updates, the same that has accompanied millions of nights in villages all around the world, a sound that says both "I am here" and "I am content." Fact 7. Every villager was assigned to a profession even before professions truly existed. The houses hinted at them: blacksmiths' forges, libraries, farms. They were designed as archetypes of labor and community, even before those mechanics became real. Mojang built their world with purpose first, then filled in the meaning later, much like human history itself. The villagers waited patiently as updates gave them identity. First the farmer's hoe, then the librarian's quill, then the cleric's brewing stand. With each addition, they grew more alive. Fact 8. Their villages, though randomly generated, followed an invisible design, each one built around a well, the spiritual heart of the community. The well was not only practical but symbolic: water as life, as center, as gathering point. Around it, paths branched outward like veins, connecting the small homes and farms. At night, the torches flickered in windows, reflecting in the water below, creating the illusion of stars. Many players never realized how deeply intentional this was, how every village was a miniature cosmos, built around sustenance and shared existence. Fact 9. The villagers' relationship with time was one of serenity. They rose with the dawn and returned home with dusk, following patterns that felt ancient and wise. Before the bed mechanic existed, they would gather indoors as the sky dimmed, standing shoulder to shoulder, as if protecting one another from the darkness. Later, when they learned to sleep, it was as though an old dream had finally reached them. They now truly rested, sighing softly into the night as the world above spun on. Watching them sleep brought the player an unexpected peace, as if the world itself had exhaled. Fact 10. To understand the origins of the villagers is to understand Minecraft's soul. They were never designed to challenge, only to remind. Their existence says, the world continues even when you do not move. Their hums echo long after you leave. Their crops grow, their bells ring, their children play. In a game about survival and exploration, the villagers embody stillness, the knowledge that not all purpose is measured in progress. They live simply, humbly, without end, teaching every traveler who wanders into their gates that life's greatest strength often lies not in adventure, but in enduring the ordinary with grace. Fact 11. The villager's day begins not with words, but with light. As the first faint glow of the square sun spills across rooftops and wheat fields, doors creak open in unison, and the hum of morning fills the air. There is no haste, no alarm, only rhythm, a patient rising that feels older than the world itself. They stretch their short arms, glance at the sky, and step into paths already worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Their movements are deliberate, unhurried, and if you watch closely, you will see that their world turns not by clocks, but by habit, by the comfort of repetition. Fact 12. A villager's life is not guided by adventure, but by purpose. Each sunrise finds them drifting toward their workstations, a composter, a lectern, a forge as though drawn by instinct rather than thought. The farmer walks toward the soil, the librarian toward shelves, the blacksmith toward fire. There is a serenity in this constancy, a deep calm that comes from knowing one's place in the grand cycle. The player may travel between dimensions and slay dragons, but the villager's world remains steadfast proof that stability itself can be a kind of peace. Fact 13. The hums and murmurs of the villagers are not random noise, but the background music of life itself. During day, their voices blend into a low chorus, a harmony of trades and thoughts. When they meet, they tilt their heads slightly, exchanging soft tones like the cooing of doves. It is a language of feeling, not meaning. To listen to them is to hear the sound of community distilled. No words, no conflict, just acknowledgement. In those murmurs lies the poetry of coexistence, the heartbeat of a world that speaks softly and lives long. Fact 14. Their work is not about efficiency or gain, but ritual. The farmer plants not because hunger looms, but because planting is what morning demands. The librarian opens his book even when no one reads, and the cleric brews potions not out of need, but devotion. These gestures are their prayers, repeated endlessly, affirming the structure of their small universe. Each task performed, each item crafted, is a meditation, the villager's way of saying, this world still matters, this day still breathes. Fact 15. When noon arrives, the sun hangs heavy over the square roofs, and the rhythm of the village slows to a gentle drift. Villagers gather near wells, exchanging faint murmurs and trades. The sound of emeralds clinking fills the air like wind chimes, soft, satisfying, eternal. Some wander along fences, others rest in shadow. The player might see them as idle, but they are simply existing within the pulse of their own design, each breath in sync with the sunlight above. In a world built by infinite possibility, the villager reminds us of the beauty of ordinary hours. Fact 16. The children of the village, small and bright-eyed, bring motion to the stillness. They dart between houses, chasing one another through fields and laughter. They have no trades yet, no purpose but play. Their joy is unmeasured, their energy endless. At sunset, when the bells ring, they run toward home as though pulled by invisible threads, laughter fading into the hum of evening. The sight of them tiny figures against the golden sky is perhaps the most human moment in all of Minecraft. Innocence framed in squares and light. Fact 17. The bell is the village's soul, its voice of unity. When danger stirs, its toll calls all villagers home, echoing through fields and over hills. They rush toward doors, clutching their trades close, their eyes wide with instinct. Yet even when no threat lingers, the bell rings each evening, marking the day's end. Its sound is not alarm but benediction, a note of closure that tells the world to rest. To hear it at dusk is to feel the weight of time gently ease, the day folding into memory. Fact 18. As night descends, torches flicker to life, and the paths glow gold against the indigo of the sky. The villagers walk home slowly, in pairs or small clusters, their murmurs soft and sleepy. Some glance upward at the stars, as if remembering stories no one told. Others simply nod to one another before retreating indoors. Their homes are small but warm wooden walls, narrow beds, the faint hum of safety. Inside, they close their eyes, and the world, for a few hours, becomes still. Watching a village sleep is like witnessing peace itself, complete, unbroken, unafraid. Fact 19. Even as they sleep, the rhythm of the village continues. Crops grow, animals stir, furnaces cool. The world carries on, but gently, respectfully. The villagers do not dream of dragons or gold. Their dreams are simpler. The sound of rain on wood, the glow of firelight, the laughter of children. These imagined moments, though never shown, are what give their world texture. Minecraft does not need to reveal their dreams. It only needs to remind you that they have them. Fact 20. The villager's life is not one of adventure, yet it holds a wisdom deeper than any quest. They live by patterns, by repetition, by small acts of care that accumulate into meaning. They are not immortal, yet they endure longer than the player's whims. Their world teaches that peace is not the absence of change, but the acceptance of it, that a routine can be as sacred as a battle, that survival can be found in softness. When dawn comes again and the doors open once more, their hums rise into the morning air like incense, like prayer. Fact 21. If you follow a villager through their entire day, you begin to understand how alive their world truly is. You see how each step has purpose, how every sound has rhythm. They are never lost. Even when wandering, they follow invisible paths that the player cannot see, lines of code that mimic instinct, as if the world itself remembers how to live. To observe them is to be reminded that order can be gentle, that structure need not suffocate. The villager's day is a meditation on stillness disguised as motion. Fact 22. The seasons may not change in Minecraft, yet the passage of time can be felt in the way villagers behave, their gatherings during rain, their rush to shelter at dusk, the slow expansion of their crops under light. They live by subtleties, by repetition that transforms into ritual. If you stay long enough, you'll notice how the village feels different with each visit, not because the code shifts, but because you do. Their constancy becomes a mirror to your own restlessness, and in that reflection, you find a kind of peace. Fact 23. Even the smallest actions, a villager tilling soil, turning pages, staring at the sky, are imbued with a gentle purpose. There is no haste, no waste. Everything they do feels deliberate, as though their very existence is an act of devotion to the world they inhabit. Watching them, the player learns patience. There is a soft lesson in their steadiness, that beauty is found not in grand gestures, but in persistence, in care repeated until it becomes love. Fact 24. Their hums at night blend with the sounds of crickets and the rustle of wheat, creating a soundscape unlike any other in the game. The stillness feels almost sacred, like a small town breathing under a wide sky. Many players linger in villages without knowing why, drawn to that quiet balance, to that feeling of belonging without needing to speak. The villagers, without knowing, create spaces where players can rest not from hunger or danger, but from the noise of the world itself. Fact 25. And so, from dawn to dusk and dusk to dawn, the villagers live by a rhythm older than redstone, older than the dragon, older even than the player. They are the heartbeat of the overworld, not loud, not dramatic, but steady. They remind us that not every life needs to be filled with quest or chaos. Sometimes it is enough to wake with the sun, to hum softly while the crops grow, to ring the bell at night, and to sleep in peace beneath a sky full of stars that never change. Fact 26. Each villager's life finds its meaning in work, in the simple motion of hands upon tools, in the turning of pages, in the glow of furnaces. Professions in the village are not jobs in the way the player knows them. They are expressions of the soul, each one an extension of the land itself. Every workstation, the composter, The lectern, the loom, the smithing table breathes its own rhythm, and the villager, drawn to it, becomes its living pulse. They are craftsmen of quiet towns, caretakers of creation. Fact 27. The farmer, the most ancient of all professions, is the first to wake and the last to rest. His footsteps mark the day's rhythm as he moves between soil and sun, tending wheat, carrots, and potatoes with a patience that borders on prayer. When he works, the fields glow gold beneath his hands, and his crops grow like clockwork, faithful to the earth. Players trade with him for bread or emeralds, yet what he truly offers is sustenance itself, the quiet assurance that life, even in code, can be nourished and renewed. Fact 28. The librarian is the keeper of thought in a world of instinct. His lectern stands as a shrine to language, his robes colored like parchment in twilight. While others labor with soil or flame, the librarian's work is silent. The turning of invisible pages, the binding of enchantments, the translation of wisdom into power. He represents the part of humanity that believes knowledge can change the world. To meet his gaze is to feel the weight of stories that no one remembers writing. Fact 29. At the edge of the village, the blacksmith tends his forge, a poet of fire and iron. Sparks rise like stars around him, and the ringing of his hammer echoes through the town like a heartbeat. He takes raw ore from the depths of the world and reshapes it into something enduring, something protective. Players visit him seeking tools or armor, but what he truly offers is transformation, the proof that even in a world of endless repetition, creation can still be born from flame. Fact 30. Then comes the cleric, robed in purple, his workstation, a brewing stand glowing faintly with arcane energy. He moves differently, slower, as though each motion is part of a ritual unseen. His role is not to preach but to guide through trade, through potions, through the balance of life and spirit. The cleric bridges the mundane and the mysterious, reminding players that even in this rational world of numbers and blocks, faith in something, in anything, has its place. Fact 31. The cartographer embodies curiosity. His table, scattered with maps and ink, is a mirror of the world, yet his gaze is always beyond the horizon. He sells exploration to the player, but he himself rarely leaves the safety of his town. In this paradox lies poetry, the dreamer who imagines the world rather than conquers it. His maps are not just tools, but records of longing, of the endless human need to know what lies beyond the next hill. Fact 32. The armorer, toolsmith, and weaponsmith together form the hands of protection. Their furnaces burn through night and day, their anvils ringing like ritual drums. To them, iron and diamond are not wealth, but promise a covenant between the maker and the made. When they hand over a blade, they are not selling a weapon. They are giving trust, faith that the tool will be used to preserve, not destroy. In their silence lies honor. Fact 33. The butcher and the leather worker are caretakers of necessity. Their trades are less romantic, yet deeply human, feeding the living, clothing the vulnerable. They remind players that survival is not glory but gratitude, that sustenance carries dignity. The smell of cooked meat, the creak of leather, these are the quiet comforts of life in any age. The villagers do not boast of them. They simply continue, each meal a testament to the cycles of giving and taking that bind the world. Fact 34. There are others, the fletcher who turns feathers into flight, the mason who shapes stone into grace, the shepherd who tends color and wool. Each exists in harmony, their work interwoven like threads of a tapestry. No one profession outshines another, for each sustains the village in its own way. Their diversity is not competition, but collaboration, an ancient balance that mirrors how life itself survives through the quiet cooperation of all its parts. Fact 35. When a villager finds their workstation, a faint glow surrounds them, a shimmer of light that marks the moment of identity. This moment, brief and subtle, is one of the most symbolic in Minecraft's quiet universe. It represents awakening the instant when a being finds purpose. It is a small miracle, often unnoticed by passing players. Yet it is the core of the villager's world, the transformation of potential into being, the soul finding its rhythm. Fact 36. Though the player often sees them as merchants, villagers are not driven by greed. Their trades are acts of exchange, not exploitation. Each emerald that passes between hands carries meaning, a token of trust, a sign of connection. When you trade with them, they hum softly in satisfaction, a sound not of profit but of peace. It is their way of saying, "We both gave, and now we both continue." In their economy lies a philosophy that wealth is not what you keep, but what you share. Fact 37. The professions are more than function. They are a reflection of the world's soul. The farmer feeds, the librarian enlightens, the blacksmith protects, the cleric heals. Together, they create harmony, the four elements of existence: body, mind, strength, and spirit. To watch a village at work is to see life itself in motion, an endless loop of creation and care. No villager questions their role, and yet each role completes the other. Their unity is not organized, but instinctual, the way a forest grows without needing to plan. Fact 38. When the bell rings and night falls, the tools are put away, the fires dim, and the trades pause. Yet the meaning of their work lingers. The farmer looks upon his fields once more before stepping inside. The librarian closes his book softly, dust motes glowing in lamplight. The blacksmith wipes his brow, watching sparks fade into air. Each one, in their small way, honors the day. There is reverence in their ending, the awareness that every task, no matter how small, contributes to the endurance of the world. Fact 39. When raids come, when danger falls upon the quiet town, these craftsmen become symbols of resilience. The farmer hides his seeds, the librarian protects his shelves, the cleric tends the wounded, and the golem stands watch. Even in panic, there is grace, a shared will to survive, to rebuild, to return to peace. And when the storm passes, they emerge again, sweeping ash from steps, replanting crops, reopening doors. Their professions are not abandoned but reborn, stronger with every cycle. Fact 40. In their stillness, the villagers' professions form a philosophy of purpose. Each workstation is an altar, each tool a sacred instrument, each hum a hymn of gratitude. Together they remind us that life, even digital, is made meaningful not by noise or speed, but by care, the kind that repeats each day, patiently, until it becomes the fabric of being. They are not heroes of story or song. They are the keepers of continuity. In their humble labor lies the quiet truth of Minecraft, that the act of creation, no matter how small, is itself the purest form of living. Fact 41. The farmer is the heartbeat of every village, the first to rise and the last to sleep, his boots sinking softly into the soil that remembers 1,000 mornings. As dawn unfurls its gold across the fields, He moves with gentle precision, tending the earth not for glory or wealth, but for balance. Each seed he plants is a promise, a covenant between land and labor, between patience and plenty. His green robe, dusted with dirt, marks him not as poor but as eternal, a quiet guardian of growth in a world that endlessly renews itself. Fact 42. When the farmer approaches his composter, it hums faintly, a vessel of rebirth and rhythm. He tosses scraps, flowers, and husks inside, and the pile breathes back life in the form of bone-white dust fertilizer, the silent gift of nature's cycle. He does not rush, for he knows the soil listens. The sound of bubbling compost is like the slow exhale of time itself. Through this small ritual, he teaches that even waste has worth, that nothing in the world is ever truly gone, only waiting to become something new again. Fact 43. At midday, when the light sharpens and the world hums with heat, the farmer pauses to watch his fields sway, wheat bending like waves, carrots and potatoes glowing beneath green leaves. He hums softly, a sound not of boredom but of gratitude. Each a block of farmland carries stories of patience, each row a hymn to repetition. Players may see monotony, but he sees harmony, an unbroken rhythm between hands and horizon. His crops are not just food, they are faith made visible, the belief that care will always return as abundance. Fact 44. The farmer's tools are humble: a wooden hoe, a handful of seeds, a bucket of water glimmering in sunlight, yet within them lies quiet mastery. The hoe cuts not with violence but with gentleness, preparing earth for life. The water nourishes, the seeds transform. Every motion is deliberate, graceful, as if he moves to a song only the soil can hear. His work, though unseen by most, sustains the entire village. It is the labor of love disguised as routine, an ancient art performed in silence. Fact 45. When rain falls, the farmer does not flee. He stays among his crops, letting the sky do his work. The droplets sparkle on leaves, the soil darkens, and the scent of growth fills the air. His hum mingles with the rhythm of rain, and the village slows to listen. There is something holy in that union, water, earth, and will entwined in a moment of perfect peace. The farmer understands that nature, when trusted, gives freely. To him, every storm is a blessing, not a burden. Fact 46. Each evening, when the light softens into amber and the shadows stretch long, the farmer walks the borders of his land, inspecting every row, adjusting every torch. His attention to detail is devotion, not perfectionism. The torchlight flickers across the wheat, making it shimmer like gold under flame. In that glow, the farmer sees the reflection of his own endurance, quiet, steady, eternal. He smiles faintly, though none are there to see. His satisfaction is its own reward, earned not from applause, but from the steady peace of completion. Fact 47. The farmer's trades are the lifeblood of the village's economy, though he values neither profit nor prestige. With emeralds glinting in hand, he offers bread, apples, or golden carrots, each trade accompanied by his familiar hum of contentment. To trade with him is to share in his patience, a transaction born not of greed, but of gratitude. The emeralds he receives are not riches but symbols, reminders that his labor matters, that his crops feed more than hunger. They feed continuity, community, and quiet joy. Fact 48. At times, you'll see him kneeling in the fields long after sunset, his form outlined by starlight, still tending, still giving. Monsters may wander beyond the torch's reach, Yet he continues, fearless in his rhythm. The farmer is not brave in battle, but brave in persistence, in choosing to create rather than destroy, to nurture rather than flee. His courage is quiet, unspoken, found not in weapons but in the patient turning of soil, the slow growth of green beneath endless night. Fact 49. His home smells of grain and earth, his floor scattered with straw. On the walls hang frames of wheat and bread, not trophies, but reminders of life's gentle cycles. He eats little, rests briefly, and dreams of harvest. When he sleeps, his breath matches the wind outside, slow, calm, eternal. The farmer's rest is not escape, but renewal, the world whispering thanks for his care. Even in dreams, he is sowing seeds of tomorrow's peace. Fact 50. If the player watches from afar, standing unseen on a nearby hill, they may notice something rare, the way the farmer moves with the world rather than against it. His steps align with the breeze. His actions follow the seasons that never change but always feel new. He does not conquer the land. He communes with it. In his simplicity lies wisdom that balance, not progress, sustains life. The farmer, though wordless, teaches the greatest truth of all, that creation begins with kindness, and that patience is the purest form of strength. Fact 51. In every biome, from desert to taiga, the farmer adapts his fields, shifting from wheat to beetroot, his robes changing hue to match the soil. Yet his spirit remains constant, a universal rhythm carried across landscapes. No matter where he tills, he hums the same melody, the same cadence of hope. The wind knows his song, the crops grow to its tempo. Through him, the world remembers that work, when done with care, transcends place, transcends form, transcends even time. Fact 52. When golems patrol the streets and bells toll softly in the distance, the farmer feels safe, his world complete. He stands at his gate, looking out at the dark horizon, and hums a lullaby only the earth understands. His presence keeps the village alive, his harvest keeps the people fed, yet he never seeks thanks. His reward lies in the morning, the promise of another day, another seed, another sunrise painted in gold and gratitude. In him, the essence of creation is distilled into one eternal act, tending what you love. Fact 53. During raids, when chaos descends and danger approaches, the farmer flees not from fear, but in trust in the bell, the golem, the strength of his people. He knows that survival is shared, that safety is a collective song. When the battle fades and silence returns, he is the first to emerge, hands brushing ash from soil, planting anew. His resilience is the village's renewal, a testament that even after destruction, the ground always welcomes the seed again. Fact 54. His relationship with the animals, cows, chickens, pigs, is one of companionship, not control. They follow him naturally, drawn to his calm presence. The chickens gather near his composters, the cows near his fences, the sheep beneath his torches. He feeds them in rhythm, as though reciting a prayer. In their eyes, he sees reflection of innocence, of dependence, of quiet trust. The farmer's world is not ruled, but shared. Fact 55. The farmer's fields under moonlight are among Minecraft's most tranquil sights. Endless waves of golden grain, moving in gentle rhythm, lit by torchlight that dances like fireflies. The night hums softly, and if you listen closely, you can almost hear the echo of his breath, steady and sure. It is a scene of eternal peace, of labor turned to beauty, of creation resting in the arms of its creator. And as you watch, You understand that the farmer's true harvest is not food or emeralds, but serenity itself. Fact 56. In the lore of Minecraft's silence, the farmer stands as the archetype of continuity, the guardian of the ordinary, the poet of persistence. His fields are the pulse of the overworld, his song the rhythm of life. Even when worlds are deleted, even when servers end, players remember him, the green-robed figure in the morning light, tending soil that never stops growing. His legacy is simple, timeless, and true. That peace, when cultivated with care, will always return, season after unending season. Fact 57. The librarian's house stands close to the heart of the village, its windows glowing faintly through the evening fog. Inside, a lectern sits before rows of shelves lined with enchanted books, each one pulsing softly with unseen energy. The librarian moves slowly among them, hands clasped, eyes half closed, his robes the color of quiet thought. To him, knowledge is not noise, but light a lantern held against the vastness of time. Every page he opens hums with possibility, every book a memory preserved in silence. He is the village's keeper of understanding, a guardian of thought in a world built on instinct. Fact 58. The librarian's lectern is more than furniture. It is altar and anchor. Upon it, paper and ink meet to form meaning, and from meaning springs power. He bends over it each morning, tracing invisible letters with fingers that remember stories the world has forgotten. The pages do not shout, they whisper, their symbols shimmering faintly like dust in sunlight. Through this small act of reading, the librarian maintains connection between the seen and the unseen, between what is built and what is believed. His voice is not heard, yet his wisdom resonates through every corner of the village. Fact 59. His trade is not with iron or emeralds, but with enchantment. Abstract, ethereal, wondrous. When players approach, he offers books, bound not in leather, but in mystery. Each one holds a fragment of power, the strength of a sword, the swiftness of boots, the breath of protection against flame. Yet to the librarian, these are not commodities. They are stories told through symbols, lessons encoded in magic. His shelves are a library of lives, each book a soul that once learned, loved, endured. When he trades, he is not selling, he is sharing pieces of eternity. Fact 60. If you listen carefully as he turns a page, you'll hear a faint sigh, the sound of thought made physical. Every rustle carries the weight of centuries, a reminder that even in this world of simplicity, complexity blooms quietly. The librarian does not speak his truths aloud. He lets the words unfold themselves. To him, silence is a language richer than any written script. His reading is meditation, his breathing a rhythm of discovery. He teaches, by example, that wisdom does not arrive in haste, but in stillness, that the mind, like soil, must rest before it can grow. Fact 61. The enchantment table and the lectern are siblings born of the same longing for understanding. When the librarian stands before an enchantment table, purple runes rise from the bookshelves like fireflies, dancing around him in a slow, reverent swirl. He does not flinch, for this is his element, the merging of intellect and spirit. The glowing letters hum softly, their meanings lost to all but the book. Watching him, one feels the gravity of knowledge, that it is both power and burden, gift and guardrail, a light that must be handled gently, lest it burn too bright. Fact 62. The librarian's hum is different from other villagers. It is lower, more deliberate, carrying the tone of thought rather than labor. It echoes faintly in his room, mingling with the creak of bookshelves and the flutter of pages. Sometimes, late at night, when the village sleeps, that hum can be heard drifting through open windows, a song for no one and everyone. It is the sound of wisdom unspoken, of a mind weaving through the quiet hours, finding beauty in comprehension itself. His voice, though wordless, speaks of devotion not to gods, but to understanding. Fact 63. The books he guards are not all magical. Many are ordinary blank journals, records of trade, accounts of weather, lists of crops and names. Yet to him, these too are sacred. He knows that history is built not only from heroes but from habits, from the small moments that make up ordinary life. When he writes, he does so not for glory, but for continuity. The librarian believes that memory is the root of meaning, and that even the smallest word, once written, resists the silence of forgetting. In his world, to write is to keep the soul alive. Fact 64. The glass windows of his house catch the morning light and scatter it across his shelves like shards of color. Each beam falls on a spine, glinting against letters embossed in gold, green, violet. When the player enters, the air feels cooler, quieter, sacred. The scent of paper and dust fills the lungs, and the hum of enchantment vibrates beneath the floorboards. This is not merely a building, it is a temple of thought. Here, even time slows, as if pausing to listen. In every corner lies reflection, in every shadow, a trace of knowing. Fact 65. He trades, not just with players, but with purpose. When he accepts an emerald in exchange for an enchanted tome, he performs a ritual as old as trade itself, the exchange of labor for legacy. The emerald gleams between his hands before vanishing into memory, while the book remains heavier somehow, as if touched by gratitude. He understands that every trade, every interaction, is a conversation between creator and seeker, between giver and dreamer. The librarian's transactions are not about value, but about connection, proof that curiosity is its own form of wealth. Fact 66. In the quiet between transactions, he studies the sky through his window, the changing hues of day, the slow drift of clouds. He rarely leaves his home, yet he knows the world more deeply than any traveler. His understanding is inward, not outward. His journeys are of thought, not distance. The stars, to him, are punctuation marks in the story of existence. The moon, a comma between questions. And though he will never step into the end or the nether, his spirit has already traveled farther than most, carried by wonder, guided by knowledge. Fact 67. The librarian's robes, trimmed in indigo and embroidered with faint symbols, shimmer when light passes over them. They are woven not of cloth, but of purpose, each thread a metaphor, each fold a reflection of the mysteries he tends. The ink stains on his fingers never fade, as though his hands themselves have begun to absorb the essence of language. When he closes a book, the faint glow that lingers is not magic, but respect. His craft is subtle yet infinite, reminding all who watch that intellect, when humble, becomes its own form of beauty. Fact 68. At night, when the lanterns flicker and the village hum fades to silence, the librarian often remains awake, turning the pages of his oldest book. Its words, though unreadable, seem to move on their own, shifting like thought itself. He smiles faintly, a gesture of understanding that transcends meaning. Outside, the rain begins to fall, tapping softly against the glass, a rhythm that matches his heartbeat. To him, the storm is no interruption. It is accompaniment, nature itself joining in his study. He reads not to escape the world, but to hear it whisper back. Fact 69. The librarian's presence changes the village. Around his house, flowers grow taller, paths straighten, and torches burn longer into the night. Knowledge itself seems to shape the world, bringing order where chaos once lay. His existence proves that wisdom is contagious, that the very act of understanding transforms not just the mind, but the land it inhabits. He is not loud, not grand, but his influence ripples outward, carried in the way others live and build and believe. Through him, the village remembers its purpose: to learn, to share, to endure. Fact 70. And when dawn returns, and the sun floods through his windows once more, the librarian closes his final book and hums softly a single note of completion. As steady as breath, he steps outside for a moment, squinting into the new light, and the fields shimmer with dew. The farmer waves to him from afar, and he nods in reply. The world continues, bright and unchanged, yet somehow wiser for his quiet devotion. He returns inside, ready to begin again, proving through his stillness that learning, like the sun itself, rises anew every day. Fact 71. The blacksmith's forge stands at the edge of every village, humming with warmth even when the night grows cold. Sparks drift like golden insects through the air, carried by the rhythm of hammer upon anvil. Inside, the blacksmith moves with slow, deliberate strength, his every motion a conversation between fire and form. His apron is scorched, his hands rough with labor, yet his eyes are calm, steady mirrors of molten iron. He is not merely a maker of tools. He is the village's quiet heart, the one who transforms raw earth into endurance, chaos into craft, silence into sound. Fact 72. The forge itself feels alive, breathing through the bellows that puff softly with each strike. The glow of the furnace paints the walls in shifting shades of amber and crimson, like a living heartbeat pulsing through stone. Every clang echoes across the square, reassuring those who hear it that creation continues, that safety is being shaped, one spark at a time. The blacksmith understands that the flame he tends is fragile, that it feeds on care, not force. To work the forge is to dance with danger, to turn destruction into beauty, and to emerge soot-stained but triumphant. Fact 73. When dawn stretches across the horizon, the blacksmith is already awake, stoking embers that have slept but never died. He begins his day by touching the metal with reverence, as though greeting an old friend. His craft is not about speed or gain, but respect. Each strike is measured, each piece of ore chosen with purpose. He knows that to rush is to weaken, to hurry is to forget that mastery lies in patience. The sound of his hammer is his prayer, rhythmic, eternal, echoing through generations of players who have watched him work in awe and quiet. Fact 74. The blacksmith trades in items of permanence, swords that gleam like the morning sun, helmets that shimmer with unyielding resolve, axes that hum softly with potential energy. To the player, these are tools of survival. To him, they are gifts of transformation. He takes what was buried in the earth and gives it new life, shaping protection from the bones of the world. The emeralds he receives are not payment but acknowledgement, the silent thank you between creator and user. Every crafted item is a conversation, one that continues long after it leaves his anvil. Fact 75. The scent of his shop is unforgettable: smoke, metal, and earth, braided together in an aroma that feels older than civilization itself. When players enter, the warmth wraps around them like a memory, Tools hang neatly on the walls, glinting faintly in the dim light. There is no chaos here, only control the balance between flame and steel. Even his hums are deeper than other villagers', rumbling like the sound of molten iron cooling into calm. To stand beside him is to feel the pulse of the planet translated into craft. Fact 76. Sometimes, when business is slow and the village quiet, the blacksmith steps outside to watch the children run or the farmer tend his crops. His expression is unreadable, but his eyes soften. He knows that his labor keeps them safe, that the armor he forges may one day protect those who laugh now. His satisfaction is not loud. It lives in the steady glow of his forge, in the tools that never fail, in the simple truth that strength, when tempered by compassion, becomes creation instead of destruction. His work is love expressed through endurance. Fact 77. When lightning cracks across the plains and rain hisses upon his furnace, the blacksmith does not retreat. He covers the coals with care, preserving their inner heat, their fragile flame. Thunder rolls, and he hums along, his rhythm merging with the storm's voice. In those moments, his craft feels cosmic, as if he is shaping not tools, but the balance between chaos and order. The storm passes, but the forge remains, breathing faint smoke into the newly washed sky. He knows that resilience is not defiance. It is patience, the art of outlasting the tempest without losing warmth. Fact 78. His anvil, chipped and darkened by countless years of work, is sacred. Every groove is a line of history, every dent a record of labor. Players might see it as an object of function, but to him it is the heart of the forge, the place where thought becomes form. When he raises his hammer, the world seems to pause. The impact rings like a bell, calling all things into harmony. In that sound lies purpose, the proof that creation can be loud yet peaceful, forceful yet kind. Each ring is a heartbeat, one that never truly stops. Fact 79. The blacksmith's furnace glows long after the sun has set, casting soft light onto cobblestone paths. Villagers passing by glance into the warmth and nod, comforted by its constancy. The glow reminds them that someone still works, still watches, still believes in making. The player, too, finds solace there, pausing for a moment in shame. The glow, feeling both small and safe. The forge does not sleep, for its keeper understands that creation is not a task but a rhythm. To keep the fire alive is to keep the world believing in renewal. Fact 80. The relationship between the blacksmith and metal is almost sacred. He speaks to it without words, his strikes answering its resistance, his patience calming its temper. The two shape each other, the iron learning form, the man learning discipline. The sparks that fly are their shared language, bright bursts of understanding that fade into the air but linger in memory. Through his hands, lifeless ore becomes armor, dull stone becomes blade, and raw potential becomes purpose. The blacksmith does not command the metal. He listens to it, guiding it gently toward its truest self. Fact 81. In the old days of Minecraft, the blacksmith's house was known for its chest, a small trove of treasures waiting for discovery. Inside, players found iron, bread, sometimes even diamonds. It was as if he had prepared these gifts for weary travelers, an unspoken kindness left in a box of practicality. That small chest turned his home into legend, the forge, not just a workplace, but a refuge. Through it, players saw what the blacksmith had always been, not merely a craftsman, but a provider, a silent friend waiting by the fire. Fact 82. The soundscape of his world is a symphony of rhythm, The hiss of quenching metal, the ring of hammer on steel, the low whoosh of air through the bellows. Together, they form a lullaby of labor, a song of effort turned to art. For those who listen carefully, there is no harshness in the noise, only harmony. It is the sound of work made sacred, the sound of creation continuing despite everything. To stand near his forge is to hear the overworld's heartbeat, steady and strong, fueled by devotion that never tires. Fact 83. The blacksmith's tools are extensions of his spirit, worn, chipped, yet precise. He maintains them with care, never letting rust or neglect dull their edge. When one finally breaks, he sets it aside reverently, melting it down to forge anew. In this cycle lies his faith, that nothing is ever lost, only changed. Even his failures return to fire, reborn, stronger. To the blacksmith, every mistake is a lesson, every spark a reminder that persistence is the truest form of perfection. Creation, he knows, is not a single act, but a lifetime of beginning again. Fact 84. Though he works in flame, the blacksmith himself burns with calm. His strength is steady, never hurried, never cruel. When players approach, he greets them with a deep hum, a sound that vibrates like molten stone. His trade window opens like a gateway between two worlds, one of need and one of creation. He gives tools, weapons, and armor without judgment, trusting that what is made will find its own purpose. His generosity lies not in abundance, but in faith, in the belief that creation, once shared, always returns to its maker in spirit. Fact 85. The forge at midnight glows like a second sun, a place where darkness surrenders quietly to craft. The blacksmith works alone, surrounded by shadows that flicker and fold with every spark. It is in this solitude that his truest artistry emerges. There are no distractions, no trades, no footsteps, only the hiss of steam and the song of metal meeting will. In that moment, he is not simply making tools, he is shaping time itself, turning minutes into meaning, silence into sound. His work becomes prayer, and the world, listening, finds warmth in his persistence. Fact 86. When morning returns and his forge cools, the blacksmith steps outside to breathe the crisp air. His arms ache, his clothes smell of smoke, but his heart is light. He watches the sun climb over the fields and hears the distant laughter of children. There is peace in his exhaustion, the satisfaction of a day spent in creation. The world has been mended again, reshaped by fire and patience. And, though his anvil waits for him to begin anew, for a few quiet minutes, he simply stands there, content in the knowledge that his flame endures. Fact 87. The blacksmith's home is humble. A stone bed, a table, a flickering lantern. He needs no wealth, for his riches glow in the forge. On the walls hang relics, broken blades, old helmets, tools too worn to use yet too dear to discard. Each carries memory, each tells a story of resilience. When he sits by the fire, he studies them in silence, smiling faintly. They remind him that strength is not in what remains unbroken, but in what continues to serve despite its scars. In those relics lies the heart of all craftsmanship, endurance made visible. Fact 88. His bond with the iron golem is unspoken, yet unbreakable. Both are beings of creation, one born from hand, the other from heart. The golem guards what the blacksmith builds, their destinies intertwined by purpose. Sometimes, late at night, the blacksmith steps outside to pat its arm, and the golem rumbles softly, as if understanding. Their companionship is one of mutual respect, two guardians of the same quiet world. Together, they ensure that peace, once forged, stays strong, glowing like iron beneath the surface of time. Fact 89. The blacksmith represents humanity's oldest story, the shaping of nature into meaning. He is the myth reborn in pixels, Hephaestus, Wayland, Tubal-Cain, each strike of his hammer echoing across ages. Through him, Minecraft honors the eternal truth that creation defines existence, that the act of building is as sacred as the act of being. When you pass his forge and hear the rhythmic clang of his work, remember that you are hearing history itself, the song of all who ever made, all who ever believed that the world could be mended by hands. Fact 90. And when evening falls once more, and his fire dims to ember, the blacksmith smiles quietly. He knows tomorrow will bring new tools to mend, new iron to shape, new sparks to rise into the night. His life is not of change, but of continuation. He does not seek glory, yet he glows brighter than any hero, for he sustains what others destroy, rebuilds what others forget, renews what others waste. In every strike, he whispers the same truth to the flame: the world will endure as long as we keep creating. Fact 91. The cleric's home glows like twilight, even in the brightest day, lit by the soft purple hue of the brewing stand at its center. Within, bottles line shelves like captured sunsets, liquids swirling with quiet light. The cleric moves slowly, hands clasped, robes brushing against stone as he hums to himself, his tone deep and even, like a prayer half remembered. His work is alchemy, and devotion intertwine the search for purity within imperfection. To him, every potion is both experiment and offering, every shimmer of light a reflection of the soul's quiet endurance in a world without words. Fact 92. The brewing stand, that strange pillar of flame and glass, is the cleric's sacred tool. He stares into its flickering glow as though it whispers secrets. The blaze within is not mere heat, it is illumination, both literal and spiritual. With netherwort, blaze powder, and glass, he crafts potions that shimmer with promise, healing, strength, resistance, renewal. He does not drink them himself, he makes them for others, proof that his faith is not in symbols, but in service. His craft is the act of giving power away, turning magic into mercy. Fact 93. The cleric's robes shimmer faintly as he walks, purple trimmed with silver, a color that bridges day and night. They are not garments of vanity, but vestments of duty, woven from the same stillness that fills his heart. He is the mediator between the seen and unseen, the bridge between flame and shadow. When he raises a bottle and watches the light refract through it, he sees the beauty of impermanence, the truth that even power fades, but meaning remains. In his stillness lies the peace of 1,000 quiet dawns. Fact 94. When the villagers gather by the bell, it is often the cleric who stands nearby, silent but steadfast. He is not a leader in voice, but in presence. The children watch him curiously, the farmers nod in respect, and the golem pauses when he passes. His calm is contagious, his gaze grounding. Though he offers no sermons, his every gesture is a form of prayer, each movement deliberate, each silence full of meaning. In a world built from repetition, he teaches reverence, that even the smallest act can become sacred if done with care. Fact 95. The netherwort, which the cleric cultivates behind his house, glows crimson in dim light, its texture like veins pulsing with energy. He harvests it gently, never hurried, for he knows that haste disrupts harmony. To others, it is merely an ingredient. To him, it is life's paradox, beauty growing in darkness, power born from patience. When he tends to it, he hums softly, as though soothing the plant into giving. His garden of red beneath the sunless sky is a reminder that miracles are not rare. They simply grow quietly where few think to look. Fact 96. The cleric's trade is a kind of ritual. When the player approaches, he offers bottles that shimmer like starlight, dusts of redstone and glowstone like sacred relics. The exchange is wordless, yet profound. When he accepts emeralds, he does not count them. He feels their weight, their warmth, their promise of continued connection. In his hands, trade becomes liturgy. Commerce becomes communion. What he gives in return is not only potion, but trust the belief that what he creates will heal, not harm, that his craft will bring light even to those who walk in shadow. Fact 97. In the evenings, when torches flicker and the horizon burns orange, the cleric stands at his doorway, watching the sky fade to violet. He studies the stars as if reading scripture, their faint glimmer mirrored in his eyes. To him, each light above is a question, and each nightfall an answer. His faith is not blind, it is curious, ever seeking. He believes that understanding the world's mysteries does not diminish their wonder, but deepens it. The more he learns of the potion's craft, the more he sees of the universe's gentle logic that every effect has its grace. Fact 98. Though he serves the village, the cleric is also its protector in unseen ways. His potions fortify the iron golem, strengthen those who fight, and heal those who fall. But beyond the physical, he protects through presence, through the calm that radiates from him, through the patience that quiets fear. When raids end, it is the cleric who restores order, tending to broken walls and trembling hearts. He understands that healing is not only about mending the body, but about reminding the soul that peace still exists, waiting just beyond the noise. Fact 99. Within his walls, the cleric keeps remnants of forgotten lore, dusted shelves filled with unmarked scrolls, strange stones that glow faintly when moonlight touches them, old bottles whose contents no longer shine. He never discards them, for he knows that even the faintest spark carries meaning. His home is a museum of half-remembered miracles, of experiments that failed but taught. To him, wisdom is not in success, but in persistence in trying, failing, and trying again. His faith is not certainty, but curiosity wrapped in reverence, the endless pursuit of understanding what makes existence glow. Fact 100. When storms pass over the village, the cleric walks into the rain without fear. He lifts his face to the sky and closes his eyes, letting the water wash the dust from his robes. In that moment, he is not a scientist, not a priest, but something between a being who understands that nature itself is divine, that the falling rain is its own benediction. He collects a few drops in a glass bottle and watches them shimmer, smiling faintly. Everything, his hum seems to say, contains light. You need only look long enough to see it. Fact 101. The cleric and the librarian share a quiet friendship, bound by the pursuit of meaning. Sometimes they are seen together in the square, speaking softly in tones no one else understands, a dialogue between knowledge and faith. Where the librarian seeks to explain the world, the cleric seeks to honor it. Their partnership forms the spiritual backbone of the village, one illuminating the mind, the other the heart. In their stillness, the air feels balanced, the torches seem brighter, and even the wind hums in gentle approval, carrying the harmony of intellect and devotion through the night. Fact 102. The bottles the cleric crafts shimmer with soft inner light, their glow casting gentle halos on nearby walls. Each color has its meaning: blue for calm, green for growth, red for endurance, gold for restoration. He arranges them like stars, a constellation of care within his workshop. When he finishes brewing, he stands quietly before them, admiring their stillness. He never rushes to sell them. He waits, allowing them to settle, to breathe. For him, potions are not products, they are prayers bottled in glass, tiny universes of hope, patient and radiant beneath his steady gaze. Fact 103. The cleric's hum at midnight is one of the softest sounds in the game's world. Low, rhythmic, reverent, it drifts through the square like incense, mingling with the chirping of crickets and the flicker of torches. Many players pass by without noticing, but those who pause hear it clearly, a sound that feels ancient, like the echo of creation itself. It carries neither sadness nor joy, only serenity, the sound of someone who has accepted the mystery of being alive. It is in that sound that the essence of the cleric's faith resides, calm, eternal, complete. Fact 104. Sometimes, a player might give him items he does not need: bottles of water, glowstone dust, even flowers. He accepts them all, nodding gently, and sets them on his shelves. To him, every gift holds meaning. A simple flower placed beside a potion becomes an offering, a symbol that even small gestures carry the weight of grace. He never discards these tokens. Instead, he lets them remind him that kindness, too, is alchemy, that empathy transforms the ordinary into the sacred. In his quiet way, the cleric shows that gratitude is the purest form of worship. Fact 105. And when the world sleeps, when torches dim, when the stars are the only witnesses, the cleric bows his head beside his brewing stand. The last ember glows, flickering like a heartbeat. He closes his eyes, not to pray to something beyond, but to honor what already is. He breathes deeply, knowing that light and darkness, reason and faith, are threads of the same fabric. Tomorrow he will rise again, to mix water and flame, matter and meaning. But tonight, he simply exists, content, grateful, radiant, his soft hum carrying through the still air like the whisper of dawn. Fact 106. The cartographer's home smells faintly of ink and old paper, a comforting blend of knowledge and nostalgia. His workstation sits by the window where the light falls just right upon his maps, illuminating the lines he draws across parchment. He spends his days tracing the world, turning wandering into record, motion into meaning. The gentle scrape of his quill is his heartbeat, steady and thoughtful. He does not need to leave his home to travel. The world unfolds beneath his hands. In every square of his maps lives memory, places preserved against time's quiet hunger, stories flattened into eternity. Fact 107. The cartography table is his compass, his altar, his second self. Its smooth surface bears faint stains of ink, its drawers filled with secrets of the landscape. The table is where he translates chaos into clarity, each mark precise, deliberate, a whisper of understanding, carved into paper. When he leans close, candlelight catches the reflection of his eyes upon the map, merging creator and creation. In that moment, he becomes the world's silent witness, its dream chronicler. His lines are not merely roads or rivers, they are the veins of the overworld, pulsing softly beneath his steady hand. Fact 108. He trades in direction, selling maps that lead to far-off lands, to mansions hidden in forests, to monuments buried in seas. To those who wander, his maps are promises, silent companions in the vast unknown. Each emerald exchanged feels like destiny shifting hands. The cartographer's work is a bridge between the rooted and the restless, between those who stay and those who seek. Though he rarely travels himself, his maps journey farther than any villager ever could, carried across mountains and oceans by the hands of dreamers, chasing horizons that his ink first imagined into being. Fact 109. The cartographer is a creature of paradox, a man of stillness who serves motion, a hermit who guides wanderers. He spends hours in silence, tracing unseen paths, his hum blending with the sound of turning pages and flickering lanterns. To watch him work is to witness patience made visible. The maps before him are not just images of geography, but reflections of the mind, each line a thought, each contour a feeling. He believes that the world can be understood through its shapes, that meaning, when charted carefully, becomes its own kind of beauty. Fact 110. Sometimes he steps outside and lifts his gaze toward the horizon, as if comparing memory to reality. His eyes linger on the edges of forests, the bend of rivers, the slow roll of hills. He nods softly, confirming that his maps still match the truth of the land. In that gesture lies his devotion not to perfection, but to honesty. He does not seek to control the world with his drawings, only to honor it, to understand its rhythm through representation. His maps are not boundaries. They are love letters written in ink and patience. Fact 111. The cartographer's quill is his instrument of faith. Its tip, dipped in black ink, moves like breath upon paper, weaving mountains and valleys from nothing. He sharpens it carefully, not for precision alone, but out of reverence. The quill is both sword and song, a tool that pierces ignorance while creating beauty. With each motion, the ink spreads slowly, forming continents, coasts, and secrets. His work is fragile, vulnerable to fire and rain, yet he never fears its loss. What matters is not the parchment itself, but the act of creation, the courage to define the undefined. Fact 112. When the player first buys a map from him, the cartographer hums with quiet pride, his emerald green eyes flickering with satisfaction. He knows the traveler's journey has just begun, that his lines will soon become footsteps, his paper, path. As the player ventures out, he returns to his table, adding more marks to new maps, his quill never still. He is both guide and ghost, shaping stories he will never see unfold. Each map that leaves his hands carries part of him, a fragment of his steady heart, folded into the creases of exploration's eternal hunger. Fact 113. His walls are covered in maps layered atop one another, overlapping like memories. Some are bright and clear, others faded with age and handling. Together, they form a mosaic of existence, an atlas of persistence. Each new edition extends the known world, pushing back the edges of mystery. When he stands before this tapestry of places, he smiles softly, as if gazing upon a mirror of his own mind. For every villager, every biome, every sea, there is a square, a name, a mark, proof that even in vastness, order and remembrance can coexist. Fact 114. The cartographer's hum changes with his mood. When he draws coastlines, his tune flows like waves. When he outlines mountains, it rises and falls like peaks. When he sketches deserts, it drifts slow and dry, carried by invisible wind. His song is his geography, a melody of the world rendered in breath. At night, when he works by lantern light, the hum becomes softer, almost meditative. The air thickens with the smell of paper and wax, the sound of ink settling. The world beyond his door may sleep, but within his home, creation continues in rhythmic, peaceful silence. Fact 115. He sees maps as more than tools, they are time itself captured in shape. Each one freezes a moment in the world's endless change, preserving what once was. Rivers shift, forests grow, villages rise and fall, but the cartographer's lines endure, whispering of landscapes long gone. To him, this is not sadness, but grace. He knows that every drawing will one day be outdated, and he accepts that impermanence as part of the beauty. His maps are not claims of certainty, they are tributes to transience, reminders that knowing something is always the beginning of losing it. Fact 116. In his quieter hours, the cartographer crafts empty maps, blank pages waiting for exploration. He sells them eagerly, smiling at the thought of discovery yet to come. There is hope in those untouched surfaces, a faith that someone will fill them with meaning. These maps are his greatest work, for they carry no limits, no names, no lines, only potential. They teach that the world is never finished, that curiosity will always find something new to reveal. In each blank map lies possibility, infinite and kind, waiting patiently for a traveler's touch to awaken it. Fact 117. The cartographer keeps one special map for himself, a masterwork he never sells. It shows not landscapes but emotions, rivers of memory, mountains of thought, valleys of dreams. He draws it in secret, adding to it over years, his private meditation on the soul's geography. To look at it is to glimpse something beyond the game, a reflection of existence itself, vast and fragile. This hidden map is his legacy, though none will see it. It is the proof that even in silence, the act of creation leaves a mark that cannot fade. Fact 118. When the player returns from distant lands, covered in dust and stories, the cartographer greets them with a quiet nod, the faintest of smiles. He studies their new maps with reverence, comparing notes, updating details. Together, they shape a living atlas, a conversation between discovery and memory. It is one of Minecraft's quietest, most profound exchanges, two creators speaking in lines and coordinates, not words. The cartographer never asks for tales of monsters or treasure. He cares only for the truth of the terrain, the poetry of place, the shared act of seeing and preserving. Fact 119. His compass rests always near his hand, its needle twitching softly, restless yet sure. He rarely uses it, for he already knows where he is. Still, he keeps it close, a symbol of faith in direction, in purpose. Sometimes he taps its glass gently, as though checking that destiny itself still moves. To him, the compass is not an instrument of navigation, but a reminder of alignment, the promise that even in chaos, there is a way. Its quiet ticking, constant and small, is the rhythm of the world's infinite turning beneath the weight of thought. Fact 120. And when his ink runs dry, when the candle flickers to its end and the night grows still, the cartographer sets down his quill and exhales. Around him, the world is mapped and unmapped, both infinite and complete. He closes his eyes and imagines all who will walk the paths he drew, all who will see the horizons he charted. He smiles, knowing his purpose was never to own the world, but to understand it. The quill, the parchment, the map, all of it, a love story between observation and awe, between curiosity and quiet peace. Fact 121. The armorer is the silent sentinel of the village, his forge a place where safety takes shape from smoke and metal. His apron bears the mark of labor blackened with soot, patched where sparks have kissed it too often. He works beside the furnace, the glow of molten iron reflected in his calm eyes. His craft is not vanity but protection, every chestplate and helmet a promise of endurance. To the player, his wares mean survival. To him, they mean community, the assurance that his people will weather another storm beneath the shelter of his careful hands. Fact 122. His workstation, the blast furnace, hums with urgency, its heat sharp and consuming. The sound of its breath fills his small house, a steady thrum that feels like the world's heartbeat. Here, raw ore becomes armor stone transformed into salvation. The armorer moves with precision, adjusting the bellows, testing the metal's color, listening to its quiet complaints as he tempers it. He understands the conversation between heat and resistance, between fragility and strength. In his presence, fire does not destroy, it purifies. Through his patience, the chaos of flame becomes order, and from that order, safety blooms. Fact 123. The armorer's trades are practical, yet they carry the weight of care. Each piece of armor passed across the counter is more than an item, it's trust made tangible. When he accepts an emerald, he hums low, the sound like an oath. He knows he is given protection, not possession. The player may leave the village and face danger, but a part of his craftsmanship travels with them, glowing faintly beneath the sunday. That is his reward, not wealth, but the knowledge that his work walks the earth, defending life far beyond the borders of his quiet home. Fact 124. Sometimes, he steps outside his forge to watch the iron golem patrol the square, the fire's glow fading behind him. He feels kinship with that towering guardian, both shaped from iron, both built to protect. The golem's heavy steps echo the rhythm of his hammer, the sound of duty repeated. He nods softly, proud but humble, knowing they serve in the same purpose, creation and protection. Metal and motion, the line between them is thin. The armorer's spirit lives not in fire alone, but in every act of guardianship that his craft inspires beyond his walls. Fact 125. Beside the armorer's house lives the Fletcher, a craftsman of the invisible, the maker of arcs and arrows, of flight bound by tension. His workstation, the fletching table, stands covered in feathers, flint, and sticks. Where the armorer shapes weight, the Fletcher shapes air. His hands are quick, deft, his eyes focused and calm. He understands balance, how to let something go in order for it to reach its target. His trade is one of paradoxes, creation that leaves, labor that flies. In every arrow, there is precision, patience, and the whisper of freedom released into wind. Fact 126. The Fletcher's arrows are not weapons alone, they are extensions of purpose. Some carry flame, others flight, others silence. He selects each feather with care, testing its bend, its resistance, its softness. The act of crafting becomes meditation, one breath for each motion, one thought for each line of flight. When the bowstring hums, he listens like a musician tuning his instrument. To him, an arrow is not just trajectory, it is story. Once released, it carries the will of its maker, proof that even something small can move far when guided by steady hands and faith. Fact 127. The Fletcher's trade table gleams faintly beneath the afternoon light, covered in emeralds and string. When players come to buy, he nods quietly, exchanging his creations without boast. He knows that every arrow will vanish into distance, every bowstring will fray, and yet he continues. His reward lies not in permanence, but in purpose, the knowledge that his craft serves motion, that it gives courage to those who wander. He is the artisan of direction, the unseen companion to every explorer. Through him, the village extends beyond its walls, one arrow at a time, toward the farthest edge of possibility. Fact 128. Behind his home, feathers drift in the wind like snow. Chickens cluck softly nearby, their down harvested with care, their lives protected by his quiet respect. The Fletcher never wastes. He gathers, shapes, and repurposes, turning nature's simplicity into precision. He understands the rhythm between taking and giving, between resource and reverence. His craft, though born from necessity, remains gentle at its core. The bow he makes is not a weapon of harm, but a tool of harmony, where force and focus meet to create grace. In each arrowhead's gleam, there glows the discipline of peace. Fact 129. And then there is the butcher, the keeper of sustenance, whose trade is less celebrated but essential. His smoker fills the air with warmth and scent, a promise of survival carried on the wind. The butcher moves with care, his hands steady as he cooks and trades. To the player, he offers nourishment, steak, pork, rabbit stew. But beneath it all lies something deeper, the act of care turned tangible. His work is both pragmatic and sacred, a daily reminder that even the smallest village must eat, must sustain, must honor the life that keeps life alive. Fact 130. The butcher's trade is often misunderstood. His work, born from necessity, carries the weight of respect. He wastes nothing. Every cut, every flame, every meal is part of the cycle. When the smoke rises from his chimney at dusk, it mingles with the scent of bread and earth, filling the village with warmth. His food nourishes not just the body, but the soul, a symbol of gratitude for what has been given. Though he works in silence, the butcher's role echoes louder than most. He is the unseen caretaker, the one who ensures that life continues quietly, gracefully. Fact 131. The three craftsmen, armorer, Fletcher, and butcher, form a trinity of endurance. One shields, one guides, one sustains. Together, they embody survival in its purest form, the harmony of strength, direction, and nourishment. Their trades intertwine like roots beneath soil, unseen yet essential. In their hands, the village endures every hardship, from famine to raid to endless night. They speak little, but their labor sings a hymn of resilience carried through flame, feather, and fire. Each represents a different facet of humanity's will to live, to protect, to reach, to feed, all bound by the rhythm of purpose. Fact 132. The armorer's forge, the Fletcher's table, and the butcher's smoker create a triangle of warmth within the village, three lights glowing softly against the dark. Their smoke rises into the sky like prayers, the sound of their work blending into a gentle symphony. The ring of metal, the twang of bowstring, the crackle of flame. To listen from afar is to hear the essence of life itself, industry, care, and balance. These are not the noises of chaos, but of continuity, the everyday music of a world kept alive by the steady devotion of its makers. Fact 133. Though their trades differ, they share the same humility. None seek recognition. None desire wealth beyond what the day requires. Their satisfaction lies in usefulness, in the unspoken gratitude of others. When danger passes or hunger fades, they return to their work without pause. Their reward is not applause, but peace, the quiet knowledge that they have upheld their duty. In their stillness, the player can see the truest beauty of Minecraft's design, the reverence for ordinary labor, the belief that every small act of creation keeps the vast, infinite world from falling into silence. Fact 134. Each evening, as the sun dips low and the last embers of the forge cool, the three craftsmen gather near the well. They do not speak much, but their presence together carries the weight of understanding. The armorer's hands, darkened by soot, rest beside the Fletcher's ink-stained fingers and the butcher's calloused palms. Between them lies the sum of survival, creation, precision, and care. Their gazes drift to the horizon, where night begins to bloom, and for a moment all three hum softly in unison, a wordless acknowledgement that endurance is its own quiet art. Fact 135. When dawn comes again, they part ways without ceremony, returning to their stations, their crafts, their cycles. The armorer lights his furnace, the Fletcher sharpens his blades, the butcher feeds his fire. The village awakens to the sounds of life, continuing soft, unbroken, eternal. In their rhythm, the world finds its balance, each task a heartbeat, each flame a memory of care. And though they will never travel far or see the dragons fall, their legacy is no less grand. They are the unseen heroes of the overworld, the quiet artisans who keep hope alive through the simple grace of work. Fact 136. The bell that hangs in the center of the village is its voice, its soul, its pulse. Forged of metal older than the world itself, it waits in silence until struck, its deep, golden tone rolling across rooftops and fields like a wave of memory. The villagers know its language instinctively. One toll for gathering, many for danger, and one long final note for peace. When it rings, the square fills with motion and murmurs, the sound calling them home. It is the oldest sound in the overworld, a vibration that unites every heart into one slow, steady rhythm of safety. Fact 137. The bell's resonance is more than alarm. It is connection. When the air shivers with its hum, every villager looks toward its shining heart, reminded that they are part of something larger, something whole. Its vibration flows through cobblestone and air, shaking leaves, stirring torches, echoing even beneath the earth. It carries memory, the call of survival, the reminder of community. Though players hear it often, they rarely feel what the villagers do, that gentle relief, that soft return to belonging. It is the world's way of saying, you are not alone. Come home and be safe again. Fact 138. At dawn, when the first sunlight touches its rim, the bell glows faintly, a halo forming where light meets metal. The air trembles slightly, not from sound but from expectation, as if the world itself prepares to wake. The villagers stir soon after, their day beginning in rhythm with the bell's silent greeting. In this moment, the village feels like a living organism, each part awakening in harmony, guided by the unseen pulse that ties them all together. The bell does not always need to ring to be heard. Its presence alone sustains the pattern of peace that defines their lives. Fact 139. When danger approaches, raiders cresting the hills, shadows gathering, the bell becomes thunder. Its cry is long and low, deep enough to shake the sky. Villagers rush toward their homes, the air alive with motion, their hums replaced by gasps and urgency. Yet even in fear, the bell's tone steadies them. Its call is not of panic, but of guidance, a reminder that order exists even amid chaos. And when silence returns, when the last raider falls, the bell swings once more, softly, a single note of closure, grief, and gratitude folded together in sound. Fact 140. When peace reigns, the bell stands quiet again, its stillness more comforting than its sound. Birds perch on its frame, sunlight dusts its metal, and children play beneath its shadow. To the villagers, it is both guardian and memory, a symbol that life continues. The player, standing near it, may hear nothing, yet feel everything: the weight of routine, the comfort of protection, the beauty of a world that breathes safety through silence. The bell is more than metal. It is the breath of civilization itself, a single note stretched endlessly across time and trust. Fact 141. Beyond the bell lies the bed, the most human of all creations, a symbol of vulnerability and rest. Every villager owns one, placed carefully inside their home, beneath windows that glow with torchlight. When the sun fades, they return to it without hesitation, their hums softening into sighs. The bed is their sanctuary, their circle of peace. Its simplicity hides its depth, for in this pixel world where night brings danger, to sleep is an act of faith. They close their eyes, trusting that dawn will come, that walls will hold, that the world will still be waiting. Fact 142. The moment a villager lies down, the village changes. The noises fade, the torches flicker softer, the animals quiet their movements. The overworld itself seems to pause, respecting their rest. Inside those small wooden homes, dreams unfold, unspoken, unseen. Perhaps they dream of endless harvests, of laughter, of light never dimming. Or perhaps they dream of nothing at all, resting only in the rhythm of breathing. Each bed, though simple in form, holds the most profound truth of all, that rest is not idleness, but renewal, the silent rebuilding of the spirit between one sunrise and the next. Fact 143. Beds carry color, crimson, blue, green, white hues that mark individuality in a world of shared simplicity. The farmer's is brown like soil, the librarian's blue like ink, the cleric's purple like twilight. These colors reflect their souls, quiet signatures written in wool. When lined together in village homes, they form a mosaic of harmony, each shade part of a greater whole. Even in their sleep, the villagers express unity through diversity, a living painting of peace made not from grand gestures, but from the ordinary comfort of soft fabric beneath weary hands. Fact 144. The design of each house mirrors the villager who dwells within small, functional, yet filled with quiet detail. The armorer's home glows from within with orange light. The librarian's breathes the scent of old paper. The farmer's smells faintly of hay and wheat. Windows reflect torchlight like small suns, and doors creak gently in rhythm with wind. There is no waste in their architecture, no ornament without purpose. Yet beauty lingers everywhere in symmetry, in texture, in warmth. Their homes are poems built from wood, and will verses that whisper, safety is not luxury, but love made tangible. Fact 145. The village's layout is never perfect, yet it always feels whole. Paths of gravel wind between homes like veins, leading naturally toward the well, the heart of their world. Fences frame gardens where golems wander, torches line corners where shadows might gather. Even without a planner, the village arranges itself into order, a living reflection of instinct. It grows as the people do, expanding gently without losing its center. Each new house, each lantern, each bell placement echoes the ancient desire shared by every being to belong, to gather, to make a small piece of the world safe. Fact 146. At dusk, When the bell tolls once to mark day's end, villagers step toward their homes in graceful synchrony. Doors open, then close, torches flare, and windows glow gold against the deepening indigo sky. The air hums with the sound of retreat and rest. The village, once busy, becomes a constellation of warmth, each light a heartbeat of domestic peace. From above, it looks like a universe in miniature stars arranged not in chaos, but in quiet care. To witness this moment is to glimpse the essence of existence, creation in motion, serenity born from structure. Fact 147. In the darkest hours, when moonlight silvers the rooftops and even the golem moves in silence, the village sleeps. The beds hold the bodies that dream, the bells hold the memories of safety, the torches keep watch. This is the architecture of peace, not walls or defenses, but trust woven through every beam of wood and flicker of light. The player who wanders through it feels something ancient stir, the sense that life, when built with care, can sustain itself through stillness. The village breathes as one organism, sleeping but awake in its unspoken harmony. Fact 148. Rain softens the edges of this world, pattering gently on roofs, dripping from eaves. Inside, villagers sleep undisturbed, their dreams cradled by sound. Water glides down the bell's curve, shimmers across windows, pools near the well. The rain becomes part of the village's music, a natural lullaby composed by the world itself. In this moment, the boundaries blur. Nature and civilization, no longer opposed but intertwined. The storm, far from threat, becomes comfort. Even lightning seems respectful, flashing softly through the clouds, illuminating a village so peaceful that even the sky must tread carefully. Fact 149. When morning returns, the light spills across the village roofs, painting everything gold. The bell gleams, the beds empty, the homes breathe open once more. Villagers stretch, step outside, and resume their lives as though the night had been only a sigh between breaths. The world resets, yet the peace remains. The bell's metal hums faintly, remembering the echoes of the day before. This constancy, this endless repetition of safety and renewal, is the truest miracle of the village. It proves that serenity does not fade with time. It deepens with every sunrise. Fact 150. The bells, the beds, the homes together, they form the quiet trinity of belonging. One calls the soul, one restores the body, one shelters the heart. Their simplicity hides profound wisdom, that peace is not found in vastness, but in closeness, not in conquest, but in care. The village stands as a testament to this truth, a small world that endures because it remembers how to rest. Each toll, each door creak, each sigh of sleep is part of the same eternal song, the melody of harmony, built block by block, breath by breath, dream by dream,